The sound of metal grinding against concrete still echoes in my head. A sharp, ugly screech, the kind that makes your teeth ache. That was the moment everything snapped. The moment karma stopped whispering and decided to shout. But to understand how a brand new emerald green Porsche ended up half wrapped around my fence, we need to rewind 3 weeks. Back to when I still believed civility could fix stupidity. It started on a quiet Monday morning in my suburban neighborhood. The kind of place where lawns look identical and everyone pretends to like each other at block parties. I backed my car out of the driveway, coffee in hand, mind still foggy. When I saw it, a gleaming green Porsche angled just enough to block half my exit. I hit the brakes, heart thudding as I realized I had inches of space to maneuver. I honked once, then again. No response. Just the morning sun bouncing off its perfect paint like it was laughing at me. I squeezed past, scraping my mirror on the garbage bin. I told myself it was a fluke. Maybe a guest. Maybe someone new. But the next day, it was there again. And again after that. By the end of the week, it had become part of my morning routine. Curse quietly. Reverse carefully. Drive away angry. On Friday, I decided to wait. If I was going to confront whoever owned that car, I wanted to do it face to face. At 8:20 a.m., I heard the jingle of keys and turned. A young guy, couldn't have been older than 20, walked out of the house across the street, phone in one hand, iced coffee in the other. Designer jacket, fresh sneakers, cocky posture. He stopped when he saw me. "Hey," I called, forcing politeness through my teeth. "You've been parking in front of my driveway. It's making it hard for me to pull out." He slid his sunglasses down just enough to look me in the eye. "Relax, man. I'm only here for a few minutes. Don't be so uptight." Then he smirked, got into the Porsche, and revved the engine like it was a personal insult. I watched him pull away, the bass from his music shaking the mailbox. My jaw clenched. I'd seen entitled before, but this was Olympic-level arrogance. Later that evening, I decided to talk to his mother, Linda. Everyone in the neighborhood knew her, mostly because she made sure they did. She was the head of the HOA, though head might not be the right word. Dictator felt closer. I found her in her yard, watering her already perfect hydrangeas, wearing a floral blouse that matched the smugness in her tone before she even opened her mouth. "Hi, Linda," I said, keeping my voice even. "Your son's been parking in front of my driveway. It's becoming a problem." She didn't stop watering. Didn't even look at me. "Oh, that's Tyler. He's only home for the summer. He'll move his car. He's been parking there every morning." She sighed dramatically, as if I'd interrupted her royal duties. "He's just a kid. Maybe leave a little earlier if it's that big a deal." That was it. No apology, no acknowledgement, just condescension disguised as neighborly advice. I felt heat rising in my face, but I swallowed it. There's no winning an argument with someone who thrives on conflict. I thanked her anyway and walked away, hearing her mutter something about people with too much time. The next morning, the Porsche wasn't just near my driveway, it was in it. Full on, wheels on my property line, blocking me entirely. I stood there, staring at it like it had personally insulted my ancestors. I took a photo, then another, then one more from the street. At 8:25, Tyler strolled out again, phone glued to his ear, laughing at something on the other end. "Morning," he said, grinning like we were old friends. "Don't tell me you need to leave again right now." "It's a driveway," I said slowly. "That's what people use to drive away." He rolled his eyes. "Chill, man. You're acting like I keyed your car or something. You're blocking private property." He shrugged. "Then call the cops, dude. See how far that gets you." He got into the Porsche and sped off again, tires spitting gravel. I stood there, hands shaking around my coffee cup, watching the green shimmer fade into the distance. When I turned around, Linda was standing on her porch, arms crossed, expression halfway between amusement and disdain. "Don't get so worked up," she said loudly enough for me to hear. "You'll give yourself a stroke." I didn't answer. I couldn't. There's a special kind of fury that comes when someone disrespects you just enough to know you can't fight back without looking crazy. I drove to work in silence, my pulse still in my ears. That night, I parked a few blocks away because, of course, the Porsche was back. I walked past it slowly, studying every detail. The perfect paint job, the spotless rims, the tiny scratch near the bumper that probably cost more than my weekly groceries. And then I saw the vanity plate. Tillowin. Tyler wins. Of course, he does. Inside my house, I sat at the kitchen table and stared at my laptop screen. I typed, HOA parking rules blocking driveway, into the search bar. The results were a maze of legal jargon and fine print, but buried in there, I found it. City Ordinance 11-57. Any vehicle blocking a private driveway may be towed, without notice, at the homeowner's discretion. My pulse steadied. Finally, something concrete. Something that could turn this smug power trip into a checkmate. Over the next few days, I documented everything. Photos, timestamps, short video clips from my phone. Each morning, like clockwork, that Porsche sat in front of my driveway, gleaming under the sun like a taunt. And each morning, I added another piece of evidence to my growing collection. I started to notice patterns, Tyler's exact arrival times, the sound of his engine before I even saw him, the way Linda's curtains always twitched when I stepped outside. They were both watching me, certain I'd give up, certain that people like me didn't fight back. One night, I sat on my porch with the camera light blinking faintly beside me. The neighborhood was quiet except for the hum of distant sprinklers and the soft rustle of trees. The Porsche was parked again, perfectly aligned with the edge of my driveway, as if daring me to cross a line. I leaned back in my chair, the air cool against my skin, and smiled for the first time in days. In a neighborhood like this, I muttered, half to myself, people think money bends the rules. The street lamp flickered, casting a brief glint off the Porsche's hood like a green heartbeat in the dark. I reached for my phone, opened my saved folder titled Parking Evidence, and scrolled through the growing stack of proof. Each picture felt heavier than the last, like ammunition waiting for the right moment. I took one last photo, this time catching the reflection of the car in my window, its polished perfection mocking me silently. The night air smelled faintly of gasoline and cut grass, and for a fleeting second, I almost felt sorry for what was coming. Almost. Then I locked my phone, stood up, and turned off the porch light. The Porsche sat there under the street light, gleaming, untouchable. But I knew something they didn't. Gravity always wins. The next morning, I woke up before sunrise. I wasn't angry anymore, just coldly focused. The kind of clarity that comes after you've been pushed too far. Through the blinds, I saw the street still half asleep, the air heavy with dew. And there it was again, that green Porsche, shining under the streetlight like it owned the pavement. It looked smug even when parked. I grabbed my phone, recorded a short clip, and whispered, Day 12. The camera blinked red like it understood the mission. I decided to do everything by the book first. I emailed the HOA office, attaching photos and citing Ordinance 11-57. I was careful, polite, professional. The reply came an hour later, short and dripping with condescension. We'll review your concern when time allows. Please refrain from direct confrontations. The signature at the bottom made me laugh out loud. Linda, HOA chairwoman. She'd answered her own complaint. A judge and jury in one smug package. By noon, she'd posted on the neighborhood group chat. Her message was vague but pointed. Some neighbors have been exaggerating minor inconveniences instead of practicing patience. Let's all try to be more understanding. The comments filled quickly with passive-aggressive support. Agreed, Linda. People can be so uptight about parking. We love your son's car. It brightens the street. I scrolled through them, jaw tight, reading each one like a slow punch to the gut. The neighborhood wasn't blind. They were just scared of her. I spent that evening in my garage, not sulking, strategizing. The motion sensor camera I'd ordered had arrived, a compact black device that blended into the corner of my garage window. I mounted it quietly, its lens angled toward the driveway. Every time that Porsche rolled into frame, I'd have proof. Real proof. I sat there watching the live feed on my phone as the night deepened, the screen flickering every time a leaf blew past. And then, right on cue, at 11:46 p.m., the headlights flared. Tyler's car slid into its usual illegal resting place. He stepped out, yawning, sipping from a soda can, and glanced toward my house. He smirked again. I imagined that smirk in slow motion, frozen in the footage. Evidence with attitude. The next morning, I printed still frames and slipped them into an envelope labeled for record purposes. I didn't send it yet. Not to the HOA, not to the city, just a quiet warning waiting to be used. For the next week, I kept gathering. Tyler didn't miss a single day. Rain, wind, morning, night, his Porsche blocked me like clockwork. I was impressed in a sick way. Commitment to entitlement is still commitment. When I finally called the towing company, I made sure it was anonymous. The man on the line sounded bored, like he'd heard every kind of neighborhood drama before. Address, he asked. I gave it. What's the vehicle? Emerald green Porsche. Blocking a private driveway. There was a pause, a low whistle. Fancy. You sure you want to tow it? I smiled. I'm positive. We'll send a unit in 10. I waited behind my window, blinds barely open. The sound of the truck approaching was like a symphony, low diesel rumble, squeak of hydraulics, chains clinking softly. The tow operator stepped out, heavy boots on pavement, assessing the car like a surgeon. He hooked it up, metal biting metal. The Porsche tilted backward, wheels leaving the ground. The operator didn't ask questions. He didn't need to. Within minutes, the car was gone, swallowed by the corner of the street. The silence afterward was beautiful. A hollow kind of peace. I poured myself coffee, still hot enough to steam, and sat down at the window with a grin I didn't bother hiding. It took less than an hour for the storm to arrive. Linda appeared first, her floral blouse fluttering like a flag of war. She marched across the street, waving her phone in the air. "Did you have my son's car towed?" she shouted before she even reached the porch. "That was city enforcement," I said evenly. "Blocking a driveway is illegal." Her voice rose an octave. "You didn't have to call. You could have spoken to me like an adult." "I tried that," I said. "Several times." "You're a miserable man," she snapped, finger jabbing the air. "You'll regret this." I watched her stomp back across the street, muttering curses that drifted through the morning air like poison. For the first time in weeks, I felt my heartbeat slow. But the calm didn't last. The next day, the Porsche was back. Reclaimed from impound, looking angrier than before, if that's possible for a car. Tyler leaned against it as I walked out to get the mail, smirking again. Phone filming me openly. "Hey, say hi to TikTok, bro," he called. "This guy loves calling tow trucks." His voice carried across the street, drawing chuckles from a few watching neighbors. I ignored him, but inside, something shifted. This wasn't arrogance anymore, it was provocation. That night, 3 new HOA violations appeared in my mailbox. One said my porch light was excessively bright. Another claimed my recycling bin was an eyesore. The third accused me of parking too close to the curb. All signed, of course, by Linda. I could picture her at her kitchen table, filing them with a glass of wine, humming to herself. I didn't react. I filed them neatly in a drawer and kept recording. The following week, I found a deep key scratch along the side of my car. Long, deliberate, unmistakable. The kind of damage that costs thousands to repair and seconds to make. I ran my fingers over the jagged metal, feeling the heat rise under my skin. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat at my desk, scrolling through every local code, every insurance clause, every HOA bylaw I could find. And then I found it. Section 8.4, Unregistered Vehicle Modifications, void HOA protection in the event of damage or impoundment. I cross-referenced Tyler's license plate through public records, tracing it to a custom exhaust system not legally approved. His car wasn't fully registered. My lips curved upward in a slow, dangerous smile. By the next morning, the plan had crystallized. I didn't need to key his car, flatten his tires, or scream at him in the street. I just needed to let the rules he ignored destroy him. I contacted the same tow company again, but this time I wasn't anonymous. The operator recognized my voice. "That fancy Porsche again." "Yeah," I said. "Same one. Blocking me every morning. But this time, I want it removed under a private impound order." There was a pause, then a low chuckle. "You're serious about this, huh?" "Dead serious." He explained the paperwork, the process, how private towing under contract worked. I signed everything, legal and neat. No tricks, no loopholes. The next time that Porsche parked in front of my driveway, it would be taken. Legally, permanently, publicly. I wasn't just getting even anymore. I was setting up a show. I looked out the window later that evening. Across the street, Linda and Tyler were unloading grocery bags, laughing about something. She swatted his arm playfully, the image of a perfect suburban mother. He glanced at my house, smirk still glued to his face. I didn't move. I just watched, calm and patient. The green Porsche gleamed in the streetlight again. Same spot, same arrogance. My camera blinked, recording quietly, capturing the last few days of its untouched perfection. When I finally turned off the lights and went upstairs, I paused halfway. Through the blinds, I could still see the car's reflection in the glass. It shimmered faintly, like it was alive. I whispered to the darkness, not out of anger, but out of certainty. "You like attention, Tyler? You're about to get all of it." Then I shut the curtain, the faint hum of the street fading away, leaving only silence and the promise of what came next. Saturday arrived bright and deceptively calm. The neighborhood buzzed with forced cheer, the annual HOA block party. Tables lined the sidewalks, kids ran with balloons, and grills smoked under the noon sun. The smell of barbecue drifted through the air, mingling with the faint scent of cut grass. It was the kind of day meant for harmony, but beneath the laughter, tension coiled tight. Across the street, Linda's house looked like a festival booth, flags, flowers, and the woman herself, commanding the setup like a general. And parked right across my driveway, angled perfectly to block it once again, sat the emerald green Porsche. It gleamed in the sunlight, spotless, mocking. Tyler leaned against it, drink in hand, chatting with a couple girls, his laughter loud and careless. Every so often, his eyes flicked toward my house, checking to see if I'd noticed. I had. I watched from behind my curtain, calm but electric inside. The tow company driver had texted me 10 minutes earlier. "We're in position. Just say when." I waited. Timing was everything. The longer he gloated, the deeper the fall. The laughter outside rose with the music. Neighbors danced. Linda gave a speech about community pride into a portable mic, her voice sharp and sugary. I let her talk, let her bask in it. She had no idea her own arrogance was about to unravel her perfect little kingdom. When her speech ended and applause scattered, I stepped outside. My calm must have looked unsettling because a few heads turned immediately. I didn't wave, didn't smile. I walked straight to the edge of my driveway, phone in hand. Tyler spotted me and smirked, lifting his drink in mock salute. "You need to get over this, man," he called, loud enough for everyone to hear. "It's a parking spot, not a hospital bed." Laughter rippled through the crowd. I ignored him, tapping my phone once. A distant rumble followed. Heads turned. The yellow tow truck rolled slowly down the street, sunlight glinting off its metal frame. Conversation stopped. The driver stepped out, clipboard in hand, looking official and unhurried. Linda froze mid-step, color draining from her face. "Excuse me," she barked, hurrying forward. "You can't tow that car. This is private property." The driver barely glanced at her. "Ma'am, this vehicle's blocking a private driveway. City Ordinance 11-57. We have authorization." She laughed, a sharp, brittle sound. "Authorization? From who?" I raised my hand slightly. "From me." For a moment, no one spoke. The sound of the tow chains clicking was the only thing cutting through the stunned silence. Tyler's confidence evaporated as the driver lowered the hook toward his front axle. "Hey, stop touching my car," he yelled, stepping forward. "You can't do this. I'll call my lawyer." The driver didn't flinch. "Call whoever you want, kid. This is legal." Linda's voice cracked. "You're going to regret this. You think this little stunt makes you look righteous? You're pathetic." I didn't answer. I simply watched as the Porsche began to lift, the rear wheels rising off the ground. Then, with a sudden metallic groan, the car tilted forward sharply. A collective gasp swept through the street. The modified suspension gave way under the tension of the chains, and the front end slammed down onto the tow rig with a shattering crunch. The sound was brutal. Hood crumpling, glass bursting, metal twisting. Tyler screamed, "No! Stop! Stop!" He ran forward, trying to grab the fender, but the driver pulled him back. "Step away, kid. It's not safe." The crowd had gathered now, phones raised, cameras recording. A dozen lenses catching the moment the Porsche, once a trophy of arrogance, hung half-broken in the middle of the street. Linda's face turned crimson. She clutched her phone, shouting into it, "I'm calling the police. This is destruction of property." The driver just shrugged. It was already compromised. That's what happens when you install illegal parts. Her eyes snapped to him. "What did you just say?" He nodded toward the damaged axle. "Aftermarket mod. Illegal. I see it all the time. Warranties void. Insurance won't touch it." The words hit harder than the sound of the crash. Tyler went pale, hands trembling. "Mom, my insurance." "Quiet," she hissed, glancing at the watching crowd. But whispers had already started. Someone muttered, "Didn't you say that car was fully insured?" Another voice, lower, added, "Guess not." A police car turned the corner minutes later, lights flashing blue and red against the calm suburban facades. The officer stepped out, took in the scene, and spoke briefly with the tow driver. After reviewing the footage on my phone and the paperwork he carried, one of them approached Linda. "Ma'am," he said carefully, "this vehicle was in violation. The tow was lawful, but," he gestured toward the wrecked front end, "the modifications here appear to breach state code. You may want to contact your insurance representative." Linda's voice broke into stammering excuses, her words tumbling over each other. That's not possible. It's my son's car. He just had it. This isn't." The officer handed her a citation slip. "You'll need to follow up with the impound lot. They're holding it for inspection." Tyler looked like he'd been hollowed out. He stared at the ruined Porsche, eyes glassy, lips quivering. I could almost feel a twinge of pity. Almost. Linda turned on me then, eyes wild, face trembling. "You ruined us," she hissed. "You think this makes you better than us? You're a cruel man." "No," I said quietly. "I just stopped letting you take what wasn't yours." She opened her mouth to retort, but the words wouldn't come. The police led the tow truck out, dragging the half-mangled Porsche down the street like a fallen idol. The crowd watched in silence until it disappeared around the corner. When the noise faded, the neighborhood seemed to exhale all at once. Conversations restarted, quieter this time. Someone clapped me on the shoulder as they passed. "Good for you," they murmured. Linda disappeared into her house, slamming the door so hard it rattled. Tyler followed, his shoulders slumped. From my porch, I could see through their window, Linda yelling, gesturing wildly, Tyler shrinking under her fury. A perfect picture of control turned chaos. By evening, the block party was over. Tables were gone, music silenced. The street looked cleaner somehow, emptier. I stood in my driveway, sipping coffee as the sky bled into gold and lavender. Across the street, Linda's lights stayed off. The next morning, I stepped outside to find the space in front of my driveway empty for the first time in weeks. The asphalt looked strange without that metallic green reflection. Tyler's Porsche was gone for good. Word spread fast, illegal mods, expired inspection, impounded indefinitely. Rumor said the insurance company refused to pay a cent. Days later, an HOA announcement arrived in every mailbox. Linda had voluntarily resigned from her position. The note ended with a polite reminder about parking compliance and neighborhood harmony. The irony was delicious. I saw her once more the following week, collecting mail with her head down. She didn't look up, didn't speak. Tyler drove an old silver Honda, now, the kind that coughed when it started. I waved to him out of habit. He didn't wave back. Life settled. Mornings were quiet again. The air smelled like wet pavement and calm. I'd wake, look at the clean stretch of asphalt in front of my driveway, and feel a small, private satisfaction. Not gloating, not revenge, just balance restored. One evening, as the sun dipped low, I caught my reflection in the window. Behind me, the street was peaceful, almost too peaceful. I thought about Linda, about Tyler, about how some people only learn when their power collapses under its own weight. I smiled faintly and whispered to the fading light, "Some lessons are expensive." Then I turned off the porch light and stepped inside, leaving the quiet street behind. Just the soft echo of justice still hanging in the air, waiting for whoever would need it next.